A happy new year 2021, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and thank you very much for joining us on the very first edition of the week and the second edition of the year, because we had a viewpoint on the 1st of January and today we are on the 4th of January, Monday the 4th, and just kick-starting the week in a new year and hoping that the new year is going to be very positive as compared to 2020. And then, what are your goals for this year? What are your attributions? What are your aspirations? Do you think of improving as compared to 2020, or you are just going to be marking time like the way you earlier did? All depends on you. All depends on your ability to think of change, be it internally or externally. And that said, in tonight's edition, we are going to be talking about the public independent Conciliator project being set aside by the head of states for the special status in the Northwest and the Southwest region. To discuss about this once more, we are very honored to have a civil society activist with us. Very often you do see him here with us. I'm talking of Kimban Vitalis. Good evening to you, Mr. Kimban Vitalis, and thank you very much for being there again.
Good evening, Vanessa. Good evening, televiewers. I wish to say a happy new year in arrears. And I want to say that it has been a very difficult year, but since we have succeeded to go through, we hope that the year is going to be a wonderful year. I want to give special new year wishes in arrears to my wife, Madame Kiyombun, Yvonne Berinyo Kimbang, and my last son, Samuel Bunyui.
All right, Berinyo Kimbang and Samuel. Mangavenashus. Do I say a happy new year in arrears? So, but I think we are still in the mood.
You are still free, Vanessa, because in as much as we are getting into new year, we keep wishing ourselves happy new year. Good evening, and good evening to our viewers, and good evening to Mr. Kimbang, who was already declaring his last son. Maybe last for the moment, or last son. Vanessa, permit me about this new year. We are into new year, and there is one aspect that we always carry through new year. At the beginning of new year, like on the first, we all had very lofty, kind of words to guide us, and they called it yes,
New Year resolutions.
And they call it correct. They call it my New Year resolution for this year is that I will do this, I will do that, I will do that. And before we finish it, we stock them into the archives of history and think of them again, maybe on the 31st or 31st of December, getting into another new year. I want to challenge our viewers, for those who took New Year wishes or New Year resolutions, yes, on the 1st of January, if they are still keeping up to it.
The reason why at the beginning I said if they are thinking about change, then it should be both internal and external.
That is it, because the challenge here is make sure that the whole month of January, if you can keep to those resolutions that you adopted on the 1st of January, then I think that January, the 2021, that will be different from what we had perhaps 2020.
I also wish to take this opportunity to greet my mother-in-law, who has been our fervent listener. She is in Milouf. She's called Madame Yenran Maureen Berinywe.
And to all our fervent televiewers, Happy New Year to all of you. Since we are talking about the public independent conciliator from the start of the show, I would like to take some few details about what it is all about before we get into the first part. And according to the presidential decree, it states that the public independent conciliator shall be an independent authority with a regional jurisdiction. He shall have legal personality and financial autonomy, states the decree. And the public independent conciliator, to be appointed by the president of the republic, has as primary duty to settle disputes between regional councils and individuals and ensure regional authorities are ethical in performing their functions. The public independent conciliator shall submit to the president of the republic an annual report on the state of relations between citizens and regional council services. That, just said in brief, is all what we are going to be discussing about today. Let us take the first part of the show. In the first question, public independent conciliator for the Northwest and the Southwest regions. Any impact on the crisis? Kimber Vitalis.
Very little impact.
Very little. So, no.
Yes.
Mangavenashus.
Yes, Vanessa, there is.
Yes, there is. And does this enhances the process of decentralization in the two regions? Mangavenashus.
Oh, yes, it does, Vanessa.
Yes. Vitalis?
I think yes.
Yes. Let us have the debate. In the first question, and in a way to effectively implement the special status reserved for the Northwest and the Southwest region, the Bureau for Public Independent Conciliator has been created, and we are trying to find out, like in the first part of the show, I briefly read their functions and what they are supposed to do. So, would this position or office have any impact on the crisis? Kimber Vitalis, you think that it will have a little impact?
But good evening, televiewers, once more. I wish to say that the public independent conciliator is going to have very little impact on the crisis, because when you look at the special status, you will discover that people don't, first of all, the people on the street don't even understand what is special status is all about. I want to believe that the Anglophone, when they came out in 2016, they did not clamor for special status. Most of them clamor for federation. And many of our intellectuals have come up with various forms of government that can help us come out from this crisis. I quite remember Dr. Ning Wanyan. He has always talked about a confederation. And when you see the structure of a confederation, you will see that it's a structure that can really take us out of this crisis. But when you go by the special status, you will discover that even most of the government officials have not been able to give us a clear definition of what a special status is all about. Now you come to the public independent conciliator. What you have read there, I don't know whether the public independent conciliator is a subcut in the Northwest and the Southwest that is going to be solving conflicts within the region. Because now when you look at it, most of the Anglophones, their cry has not been within the region. Their cry has been that once they go out of the region, they are unable to access services because they cannot speak French. And most of the time, we have heard people who go to Yaoundé and they come back and they say, when he goes to Yaoundé and you speak French, they say, I cannot hear that your native language. And so if you go to Yaoundé and you happen to have been treated with this type of discrimination, there's no way the independent conciliator is going to be of help to you, because his area of jurisdiction is the Northwest and the Southwest. I think if we want to do something that would be beneficial to all Cameroonians, we should make it in such a way that wherever you are, if you are discriminated upon, you should be able to have a body that will intervene and try to solve your problems. Because when we only say the public independent conciliator is only for the Northwest and the Southwest, it's as if it is a court that has been created to solve problems within the Southwest and Northwest region. They also have that. My question was that, are we going now to say, okay, the customary courts that we have in the Northwest and the Southwest, are we going to do away with them? Then secondly, the normal courts that we have in the Northwest and the Southwest that have been solving conflicts among citizens, are we going to do away with them and allow only the public independent conciliator? So I was thinking that the public independent conciliator maybe only solves problems within members of the regional councils. But if it extends to the public, that's where I have a worry. And secondly, you have to understand.
Talks of regional councils and individuals.
Yes.
So it extends.
It extends to individuals. That's where I have a worry. Then when you look at it critically, you discover that most of the people who are fighting, they don't even understand all these terms. It's as if those terms are just foreign to them. And I want to believe that if we have gone to something like, because for me, I believe in federation. I believe that if we can go back to 1961 federation, this crisis will be all over. Because, first of all, people are tired of the crisis. People are fed up. But now, we want something that is concrete, something that can give them hope. So when we keep on bringing terms, public this, that they don't understand, I think it's not going to help in any way to solve problems, because majority of those who are fighting the bush, they don't even understand what all these things are all about. So we should try to bring out something that will make them to understand and will make them to have at least an idea of what is really happening. So I think that the public independent conciliator
would not have or have little impact.
Very
on the
little
crisis.
impact on the crisis.
On the crisis.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your contribution, Kimbang. Vitalis, Mangavena Shoes, you rather think that this public independent conciliator will have an impact on the crisis?
Yes, Vanessa, when we talk about the special status for the Northwest and Southwest regions, you know, it is a term that many Cameroonians came to know about it at the end of the major national dialogue that ended on the 4th of October, on the 4th of October 2019. And this was proposed for the Northwest and Southwest region, and the head of state actually gave that a go-ahead, and it became, you know, part and parcel of that region. When you look at the constitution of Cameroon, it says out of the 10 regions of Cameroon, they can decide to grant a special status into any of the regions. What that status is, the constitution has not defined it. The constitution has not said this special status meant this or is supposed to. No, it's just a status that once given, now those who decide, those who take decisions in this country, study the peculiarities of each region in relation to the crisis at hand, and now the content of that special status now would be made up. You know, when we talk about the special status in the Northwest and Southwest region, it was like an empty container where many Cameroonians were questioning what it is all about. Like Mr. Kimbang is saying, so many people do not even understand what it is all about. But with issues like, we have the decree that was signed on the 24th of December last year, or 2020, the head of state created the public independent conciliator for the Northwest and Southwest region, which is supposed to be an independent body, independent institution, both in terms of functioning and in terms of finances. And like you actually said, it is supposed to handle conflicts between individuals and various local...
You're saying which is supposed to be, which will be or is supposed to be. Because we don't...
the decree, it is to be.
Cool.
Yes, and the decree that created that body stipulated that the public independent conciliator must be from the origin or from the region concerned, which means it will be somebody from the Northwest, somebody from the Southwest region, and he must reside in the region. Now, when you look at the functioning of that body, you will see that the idea is not like to say that is replacing the court or no. It would make sure, if you look at it, the public independent conciliator will be proposed by the regional council and the representative of the state, who in this case are the governors. They are supposed to shortlist 3 names and propose them to the head of state to validate one. And the one must be from the Northwest region, his area of jurisdiction would be the Northwest region, and the office must be in Mizam division and Bamenda. For the Southwest region, the office will be in Boya, in Fako division, and it must be somebody from the Southwest region. His area of jurisdiction is the region. Now, when you know, all these are measures, all these are ways to curb the crisis that is ongoing. That's why I started by saying that at the end of the major national dialogue, the dialogue whose main purpose was to look for a way out of this crisis in the 2 regions, they proposed the special status. And with the decentralization process that was launched from 1996, with the amendment in the constitution, all the structures of the decentralization or of decentralization are already in place. Besides the regional council, regional assemblies, there is this a special public independent conciliator for the Northwest and Southwest region, and it is to work in collaboration with the regional assembly. Remember that the public independent conciliator has a mandate of 6 years, which means he lives
non-renewable.
Non-renewable, actually. He lives beyond the regional council. Regional council presidents are only 5 years in office, but he would have to outlive them because he is 6 years in office, which means he is to and when you look at the constitution, the decree creating it, he has the ranks and prerogatives of the regional assembly president. So he is of the same rank and the same prerogative like regional.
So would that not be accumulation of functions?
Accumulation of function, multiplicity
multiplying functions.
But then regional assemblies, they are geared towards development of the regions. Now he is supposed to, according to that decree, to handle conflict between
regional
councils, councils
and individuals,
and individual. And we think that these are, one of those one of the functions is to make sure that individuals who go through marginalization in the discharge of services, by these structures, they can complain to the public independent conciliator.
Mr. Mange, what you are saying is very, very correct. But my fear now is when you talk about marginalization, the Anglophone has been crying marginalization not because the Anglophone marginalize the Anglophones, but they are crying marginalization from the Francophones. Now that the public independence conciliator is going to limit only in the Northwest, who is going to marginalize who now in the Northwest?
It does not cancel the fact that because Anglophones or those from Northwest and Southwest region complain that they go through marginalization in the Northwest or in the out of their region. The marginalization they were talking of here is in terms of developmental issues. That is what I understood from that marginalization. It was like they have abandoned the Northwest, they have abandoned the Southwest region. That is why they want to call for greater, call it interest in the development of this region. And now with the public independent conciliator, he would make sure that such marginalizations, that they don't, occur. That's why he must be.
So his functions gradually enters into that of regional councils.
If he has the ranks and prerogatives of a regional council president, not only the regional councillor, he is above the regional councillor.
Yes. What type of conflicts is he going to be solving between individuals?
And the regional councils.
Correct. It was just exactly with the special status when it came. All of us questioned the content of this special status. Even I did, because to me it was an empty vessel, and now gradually it is being filled up. We believe that the head of state who initiated the idea of this public independent conciliator, that he would keep on, because we cannot completely say that the decree created it and because there are still other branches that will have to be, they call it research officers who will be there to find out,
creating the public independent conciliator is very laudable, but the problem now is I, as an individual, am confused. Does that mean that if I have a conflict with my brother in Bamenda, instead of going to the High Court in Bamenda, I will go to the public independent conciliator? That's where
we understand the conflict in question here. Conflicts that are linked to institutions.
We'll not take, Mangavena Shoes, who might discuss this the whole day.
I think we should come back in another.
Let us take a second question. Does this enhances the process of decentralization in the two regions? Kmer Vitalis, you think that in one way or the other is going to enhance the decentralization process?
Yes. If in Cameroon, we are good at creating laws and we don't follow them. So if the public independent conciliator and the regional councillors, if they have to work with abnegation, I think
like
decentralization process is going to be very, very smooth. But I still have another fear. Because this issue of decentralization started in 2016.
2006.
2006.
Yes.
Today is already
24 years.
24 years, and it is still in the baby stage. So my fear is that I don't see it metamorphosis within a space of months or a space of 1 or 2 years into maturity. Because when we sign decrees or we create laws, and those laws are not being followed, so sometimes when other good things are coming up, we are still very skeptical about it. So that is where my fear is coming from. But I want to believe that according to what the head of state has put in place, and according to the various structures that have been put in place, if we have to follow it strictly, then the decentralization process is going to work. And it's going to be a catalyst for development in the Northwest and the Southwest region.
Very important, because I believe that if development takes place, then we are one way into solving the problem or the crisis. Manga Venashus, your point of view?
Yes, Vanessa, when you were reading the functions of the public independent conciliator, there is somewhere, if you had to go through, you would have realized that one of his responsibility would be to make sure that civil servants live up to the exigencies, to the clauses, to the dictate of the ethics of their profession, which means they are supposed to make sure that if you are a teacher, you teach according to the ethics of your profession. If you are a nurse, a doctor, carry out your duty as it is demanded. I think that's decentralization. Because, like I said, the decree that created this public independent conciliator stipulates that the ranks of this public independent conciliator, he has the same rank and prerogative like the regional assembly president. Which means if the regional assembly president has the duty to pilot or accelerate development in the region, it is also the responsibility of the public independent conciliator to make sure that development is accelerated. It will not be a problem now, an issue where we have this issue of ghost workers in Cameroon. No, he would have to make sure that this teacher is on duty. It will not be a situation where we have a teacher who is supposed to be in GHS Chakiri, but this teacher is in US, and a different person is working on his behalf or on her behalf, and salary is going through. No. He has, when you listen to the oath of office that this officer is supposed to take upon assumption of his duty, he has to indicate that he would be available to discharge his duty with all honesty and integrity. And to do that, which means he would have to follow up public servants in the Northwest region, in the Southwest region. This in itself is the transfer of competencies. It will not now be, it will not be, because the minister is there in Yaoundé, he will not be able to know what is happening. We must indicate that there are some principals who connive with most of this. We take teachers, for example, because that's one of the sector that is, noticeable. No police officer, once you are absent from duty, 2-3 days, you are called from Yaoundé. Police officers in the military or armed forces, it is very noticeable. You cannot make 1 or 2 days. But we have teachers who have been absent for 2-3 years, and there's no problem. Yeah. And you hear they are announcing on radio that he has been absent since January. What does the authorities
reason why the minister
so we
called
think that
some of them to go back.
Of course. So we think that with this office in place, it will fast track decentralization, the process of decentralization, especially in the 2 regions of the Northwest and Southwest region. And in a way, that is another special. That's a special status. It is something different, because this public independent conciliators,
I think we'll have to abbreviate it. The PIC.
The PIC, perhaps. Yes. These PICs will only be in the Northwest and Southwest regions. It will not be in the other regions. Remember, when we say that they would work like the regional assemblies, it means we have invested another state agent to make sure that he, what we want to do is bring about sanity in the public service, bring about sanity in, so that people should feel the impact, of the presence of the state.
Yes, Mr. Manga, I want to believe that public independent conciliator, very excellent. if you want development or decentralization to properly take place in the Northwest and the Southwest, first of all, we have to reconcile everything. And by reconciling, I would like to beg the head of state that that he should release everybody that was arrested in connection to this crisis. Because if we don't release them, if we don't reconcile with each other, and we think that we can go ahead and carry out decentralization, it's going to be very difficult. Because when you look at a region like in Cameroon, for example, there are times that a contract was awarded to dig some roads in Cameroon. When caterpillars were taken there, they were instantly burned down. They burned them down. So you will discover that with the decentralization, if we don't reconcile, if this crisis don't come to an end first, before we push ahead decentralization, it's still going to be very difficult, because those who are carrying guns are in the bush. They will still create problems, and for the public independent conciliator or the whatever, it's going to be very difficult. When you look at those who have been appointed, those who have been voted, none of them lives in the Northwest and the Southwest now. Most of them are all escaped and they are living in Yaoundé. So if they cannot live in Yaoundé and they solve problems in the Northwest or the Southwest, so we have to reconcile ourselves by making sure that we forgive those who forgive and forget, and we start from afresh and we forge ahead.
Mr. Kambang, you have a point there, because when you look at, like Vanessa said, we should abbreviate it, the PIC, they see they would will represent Conciliator, and Conciliator, we may want to reconcile people. It is very obvious that when a crisis like we have in the Northwest and Southwest regions, once it finishes, there's always what we call the after effect of this crisis that lives maybe longer than the crisis itself, because people have antagonized themselves. You killed my father, or you this you were responsible for, and you will never die down. So we need institutions like this to to work on the people. When we talk of reconciling people, I believe
reconciling comes with I forgive you. You cannot reconcile when my brother is still in Kondenge or still in Newberg prison. If we forgive them, if we give them that amnesty, then we will forgive them. We can now reconcile.
We believe that the public independent conciliator will also have that as his responsibility, to make sure that he pilots that issue of reconciliation between Cameroonians and between Cameroonians and the authorities.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. But the implementation of the special status for the Northwest and the Southwest region is just getting into full function. So hopefully your request might come up within, in the course of time.
No, we just hope so.
We are hoping so. Thank you very much, Mange Venatius, for your contributions.
Thank you, Vanessa.
And to you, Kimba Vitalis, so hope to have you next time when available.
No problem. I'm always available. If I'm in Douala, I will always be available.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. We have come to the end of today's edition. Thank you very much for watching, and wishing you a blessed week start in the company of programs on TBS television. Goodbye.